Well, I'm a little bit surprised that I'm making this video. Um, but I've thought about it for some time, and it's just for Mormons. In this case, specifically, a Mormon lady named um, Megan Spencer. And I think she's a very nice lady. We're friends on Facebook, and she's somewhat surprised at my attitude towards church leaders. So I thought I would clarify some things and let let her know and anybody else know why I feel the way I do. Okay, I really started on my mission. Okay, I was serving in what called the High Line of Montana, um, specifically Glasgow, Montana, and we were teaching a young lady who seemed to be coming along pretty well. I thought we were for sure we're going to be able to baptize her. And then she had an issue, and it was because the church wouldn't allow the blacks uh, to hold the priesthood. And I was a recent convert. I'd only been a member of the church at that time. Oh, well, converted, I should say, and maybe a year and a half, something like that. So there were certain doctrines that I wasn't aware of. And I was actually surprised. I looked at my companion. I said, they can't hold a priesthood? And he's like, no, they can't. And I thought, well, I'll research this and I'll get back to you. And I spent a lot of time, a lot of effort researching that. I had access to Bruce R. McConkie's Mormon Doctrine, and I also had access to a Journal of Discourse where Brigham Young talked about the priesthood in the segregation of the priesthood. So eventually we did lose her. Uh, I didn't have a good answer for her. So now fast forward to it'd be 1978. My mission was 72 to 74. So 1978, when the church gave the blacks the priesthood, and I was stunned. I was like, what? What did I miss? So I decided to go, and at that time, I was a very active member, full tithe payer. I was a 70s, and I was teaching other people, and I thought this just started plaguing my mind. That's like, what did I miss? What did I miss? So I decided to go and talk to my bishop. Ultimately, ended up talking to the state presidency, I should say, Dean Wright, Bob Dean, and Larry Chaffin. And the only thing they did was browbeat me. I'm serious. They just talked to me in a very demeaning, condescending way. And I was like, I was kind of a new guy on the block. So I was like, So I go home. My wife asked me how it went, and I told her. And she actually got very upset and got on the phone, the landline in those days, and demanded another meeting. I was like, oh boy, here we go. So we had this other meeting, and she really jumped in the middle of them. She called Dean Wright a communist. I'll never forget that. And then they decided to gang up on her, so I had to get involved there. Right, that's my wife. I'm going to defend her. She didn't say anything wrong. They were acting like real communists. Specifically, told us we couldn't read the scriptures in our home anymore. Whoa! And that's what set her off and called them communists. So, anyhow, they warned us, said we'd be excommunicated, and so we went home, talked about it. I said they're not going to excommunicate us. It ain't going to happen. Okay, we didn't do anything wrong. So what happened though is kind of interesting. I had this prophetic dream, and I say prophetic because I've had these dreams quite a bit in my lifetime, and they always ended up coming up true. And the dream that I had is that my brother in law would rise high in the church and that he would fall, and it had something to do with sex, and everybody would be there to see it. Well, I ended up telling uh, one of my in laws that dream, and that got relayed to the bishop, stake president, to the first presidency or whatever in the church, and I ended up getting excommunicated and my wife over that dream. Yeah. In my excommunication papers, they quoted, I think it was 107 verses like 92 to 93, that by usurpation we were taking authority away from the president of the church, prophet of the church, and that only he could receive revelations for the members of the church. Okay, though we can receive revelations for our families. Now he was not immediate member of my family, so that's why they did it. Well, then here the dream comes true. I don't think I should mention his name. I don't know if that would be fair, though I have been put in this corner for some years, and with all the prejudices going against me. And so anyhow, it did happen. He rose to be the stake president of the church, and he got caught up in a sting soliciting sex across state lines for young girls, and got caught by the FBI. And it was all over the news. It was on bulletin boards in 3 states. And like I said, they'd all be there to see it, and it had something to do with sex. So that dream literally came true 20 years after the fact. All right? So that was unbelievable to me that they excommunicated me. And I actually kind of forgot about the dream. And 20 years is a long, long time. But from that point on, that they excommunicated me, my life turned into pure hell. That's the only way to put it. It ultimately led to the divorce. A divorce between me and my wife is very difficult on my children. What they had to go through with another man as their father, which they never did accept, from what I understand. So this is what your church leaders did to me. Okay? And so I became a student of the scriptures like never before. I mean, I threw myself into that, praying, fasting, and reading the scriptures over and over and over again, documentaries, anything I could find about the early days of the church, the leaders. And I came away realizing that the leaders of the church in many instances fail. Many instances fail. And I've also realized it is getting progressively worse. I mean, the biggest one for me, Megan, has been the vax. They've flat out claimed, Russell M. Nelson and others flat out claimed it was basically a revelation. He called it an answer to his prayers. Of course, what are we supposed to believe out of that? And then there was one of the apostles in South Africa who said it was a revelation from God. Okay? So this vax undoubtedly is a part of the great conspiracy that is mentioned in the Book of Mormon and the Book of Ether. Okay? Or excuse me. Which Ether talked about. And that, was it, Moroni translated it. And, when you see these things, consider your awful situation. So we're in this awful situation, and it just got a whole lot worse when the leaders of the church espouse the vax. And to me, that is a division bill right there, espousing the vax. I can't imagine. I mean, I was dumbfounded when they did that. I was one of the first to come out against it on Facebook, and I kept telling people, don't do it, it's not right. And here the church shuts down the temples, the churches, telling everybody to wear a mask, and basically telling people to get the vax. And then, how much death and misery has that led to, and will continue to lead to? So that's just a short synopsis of why I believe the way I do, that the leadership has gone totally off the tracks and is leading people astray. Like Jesus said, when the blind lead the blind, they all perish. And I see the leadership of the Mormon Church as completely blind and have actually become criminal. And, not to mention all the money they hid, that's just, in my opinion, that's just petty thievery, even though it's you know, billions of dollars. But money is just money. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's 1 penny or $1 billion. It's if you steal it or hide it, and basically they're stealing it. That to me is petty thievery, and that's all they are, is a bunch of petty thieves. And you know, they're get out of here. Somebody's trying to call me. And I can't say enough how bad I think things are with this leadership. I think they're up to their eyeballs with the UN. That's obvious because they've been donating so much money to the UN. They're up their eyeballs in this great conspiracy, and they think they're doing the right thing. But just go read the 28th chapter of Isaiah. It's all right there. Okay, Megan, I'm still your friend. Bye bye.